Hello everyone. Good morning. Dear authors and invited guests, welcome to technical session 7C. Myself, Vidhi Rangdale, and this session will be moderated by me. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation and GR Scholastic, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 11th International Congress on Information and Communication Technology, ICICT 2026, London, UK. The 11th edition of the conference is being organized in a hybrid mode. The physical event was held day before yesterday in London, UK, and the virtual event is being held through Zoom from 25th to 27th February 2026. I hope you will enjoy the knowledgeable and interactive sessions throughout the day. In this session, we have 6 presentations. Each presenter will be given 12 minutes for the presentation and 3 minutes for question and answers. On 10 minutes, I will raise a gentle reminder. There is another request to all the participants that you all stay connected with us till the closing remarks. If you have any query or update, then you can write it to me in chat box. Just before we start the session, I would like to introduce you all to the chair for this session. We have Dr. Sunil Kumar Jangir. Dr. Sunil Kumar Jangir is Senior Manager, Projects and Process at Wixflux Private Limited, Jaipur. With expertise in project management and Scrum methodology, he drives innovative program development and strategic execution. His research contribution enrich both academic and professional communities, focusing on the applications of machine learning and deep learning in real-world scenarios, network security, and routing protocols for ad hoc networks. Welcome to the session, sir. Would you like to address the participants?
Thank you, Vidhi, for this great introduction. And I wish you all the best for all the participation for this ICICT 2026. All the best. We can start now.
Okay. Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Yes. So, shall we start the presentation now?
Yes. That's why I said we can start the presentation.
So, I think,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I think I am the first one. Yeah, my name is
Okay.
Wang Juan, and
All the best.
I'm going to share my screen and start my presentation.
Yes, ma'am. I would like
Yes.
to invite Wang Juan for presenting her paper titled Accessing Chinese EFL Learners' Engagement and Speaking Proficiency in ChatGPT Integrated POA, a concept paper.
Okay, thank you. And I will share my can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, then I will start my presentation. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share my academic ideas in this conference. And the title of my sharing is Assessing Chinese EFL Learners' Engagement and Speaking Proficiency in ChatGPT Integrated PUA concept paper. AI has shown tremendous potential in personalized learning and improving learning outcomes globally. In China, the China Education Modernization 2035 strategy also highlights the importance of AI in AI in educational reform. However, its adoption, especially in language learning, remains limited in Chinese universities. The challenges faced by the college English course in universities are significant, and they actually limit the development of a student's speaking proficiency. And the significance of speaking proficiency in English cannot be overstated. In today's globalized world, speaking proficiency is crucial in many aspects, especially in non-native English-speaking countries like China. However, there are some problems with speaking proficiency in the English college English course in China. Current teaching approaches actually still focus heavily on grammar and reading comprehension, neglecting speaking practice. And large class makes it difficult for teachers to provide personalized feedback and engage students in speaking activities. Passive learning also hinders real-world language practice and diminishes student engagement. So the production-oriented approach, POA, is output-driven and task-based. It encourages students to focus on language production that stimulates engagement. Moreover, AI tools like ChatGPT have the potential to simulate conversations and provide real-time and personalized feedback. It can also reduce the learner anxiety, offering a low-pressure environment for students to practice their speaking. So the integration of the AI with POA holds great promise for enhancing both student engagement and speaking proficiency. Thus, this study aims to examine the influence of ChatGPT integration with POA on student engagement, including their behavior, emotional, and cognitive engagement. It also aims to explore the effects of ChatGPT integration within POA on speaking proficiency in terms of fluency, accuracy, and pronunciation. Lastly, it aims to investigate the mediating role of student engagement in the relationship between these two. So in this study, ChatGPT is integrated into 3 stages of POA, namely motivating, enabling, and assessing, each tailored to utilize different features of ChatGPT. According to technology acceptance, model perceived ease of use and usefulness are crucial for technology adoption and engagement. This will guide the integration by evaluating students' perceived ease of use and usefulness of ChatGPT features across POA stages. And the framework also draws on constructivist learning theory and self-determination theory. These theories highlight the importance of active participation, meaningful learning, and the fostering of autonomy and competence in learners, all of which are essential in effective language acquisition. So through the use of ChatGPT in POA, students foster their behavior, emotional, and cognitive engagement. And this enhanced engagement will contribute to the improvement of their speaking proficiency, passing fluency, accuracy, and pronunciation. Previous studies have revealed the significant role of speaking proficiency. However, despite its importance, many Chinese students in higher education remains they still struggle with speaking due to these factors. And about student engagement, studies have shown some influencing factors, including the AI tools usage. And there are some studies exploring the impact of engagement on speaking proficiency, but most of them have focused on single-dimensional engagement. For POA, the effectiveness has been supported by numerous studies demonstrating positive impacts at different stages, like the motivating, enabling, and assessing, as well as overall learning outcomes. However, the existing evidence have focused primarily on writing skills. And the use of AI, particularly ChatGPT, AI tools, particularly ChatGPT, in education has evolved from administrative tasks to becoming integral in language learning. So according to studies, the ChatGPT can help enhance student engagement by providing the personalized feedback, and it can also promote self-regulated learning and facilitate low anxiety environment. However, there are still some concerns regarding like over-reliance on ChatGPT and inaccurate information provided by it, and etc. So its application in education must be guided by well-established teaching framework such as POA. So they study to address these research questions. The study will employ a mixed method design combining both quantitative and qualitative approaches. The study will use questionnaires, the speaking test, and semi-structured interviews. The CIET questionnaires will assess students' perceived ease of use and usefulness of ChatGPT features. SES questionnaires will measure students' behavior, emotional and cognitive engagement. The speaking test is used to assess their speaking proficiency, and semi-structured interviews will gather the corresponding qualitative data. For population and sample cities in Anhui province in China will be first selected to cover different economic development levels, and then one public university with the availability of college English course will be selected in each city. One university contributes one class, and among 4 classes, 2 major in sciences and the other 2 in humanities. And each class will be prepared with a teacher. These teachers are selected from the same universities. They have a similar field experience and technology familiarity, and they also share similar educational background and teaching experience. This will ensure the teacher variable remains consistent throughout the study, allowing for the accurate examination of a ChatGPT integration process. And the data collection is organized into 2 stages, including the intervention stage and post-intervention stage. During the intervention stage, the teaching design will be based on POA ChatGPT framework, which will integrate ChatGPT into 3 stages of the POA. In the motivating stage, students will use ChatGPT to explore those speaking topics, clarify tasks, and generate ideas about how they will complete those tasks. In the enabling stage, ChatGPT will provide some scaffolding such as language corrections, giving feedback on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. And in the assessing stage, ChatGPT will evaluate students' performance, overall performance, giving them both formative and summative assessments to facilitate students' further learning. And during this period, the CIET questionnaire will be administered for 3 times to track students' perceptions of ChatGPT integration within the POA. And after that, after the intervention, speaking tests will be distributed to collect data on students' speaking proficiency, as is questionnaires for the data on student engagement, and interviews for the data on both teachers and students' perspectives on the influence of ChatGPT integration on student engagement and speaking proficiency. While the data analysis in this study will be conducted using both quantitative and qualitative methods, descriptive statistics will be performed to summarize data on students' perceptions of ease of use and usefulness of ChatGPT features across POA stages, as well as student engagement across 3 dimensions. It will be also used to analyze the students' speaking test scores on fluency, accuracy, and pronunciation. The regression analysis will be applied to test how ChatGPT integration within the POA predicts student engagement and speaking proficiency, and mediation analysis will be performed to examine whether the effect of the ChatGPT integration on speaking proficiency is mediated by engagement. Well, for all quantitative analysis will be performed using software SPSS, and for qualitative analysis, thematic analysis will be used to analyze interviews, and software in vivo will be employed to identify thematic patterns and facilitate coding and data organization. So I guess through all of those data analyses, comprehensive insights will be provided into the impact of ChatGPT integration within POA on student engagement and speaking proficiency, while exploring the role of engagement as a mediator. Well, that is all about my presentation. Thank you very much.
I request the session chair to ask questions.
First of all, congratulations for this wonderful presentation and the good research work you have carried out. So my basic question is, how did you isolate the specific contribution of ChatGPT within the PO framework to ensure that the improvement in speaking proficiency? This is my basic question. Repeating again.
Okay, so yeah. Thank you very much for your question. So so how ChatGPT is used in the POA, the teaching approach is POA to improve students' speaking proficiency. Well, that is based on the characteristic of a POA, production-oriented approach. Actually, that is a very famous and typical, famous Chinese teaching theory. It is particular about to address Chinese learners' input and output gap in learning in language acquisition. So it is divided into 3 stages. In the first stage, it is motivating stage, and in this stage, it aims to motivate students to participate or to engage in learning. So based on the characteristic of the motivating stage, in this stage, ChatGPT will be used to help students to get the motivation. As I just mentioned, in this stage, ChatGPT, some features of ChatGPT will be used, like students can use the ChatGPT to explore more information, to get a higher motivation, to get more interested in this topic. For example, if the topic is campus love, then they can explore more information about the students' attitudes towards campus love, and even the attitudes towards the marriage. And also, according to the characteristic of the POA in the motivating stage, students will know the final production, because that is production oriented. So there will be the final task students have to finish, to complete. So actually, in this stage, students can also get some help from ChatGPT to better understand how they can complete this task. Okay, so in the enabling stage, according to POA, the students will get some scaffolding based on how they can complete the task. So in this stage, ChatGPT can give them some corrections, like vocabulary, like grammar corrections, as well as the pronunciation corrections, because usually students use the ChatGPT in the voice mode. So I think that is very helpful for improving the pronunciation. This is also why I just add pronunciation. One of those reasons why I add pronunciation as one of those important factors in speaking proficiency. And according to POA, the last stage is assessing. Assessing stage actually, as its name shows, it will assess, evaluate students' performance. So with the help of ChatGPT, actually students can get both summative and formative assessments before they present or perform or finish or complete the task in front of peers and teachers. They can just perform it, with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can give them some summative feedback. Then they can improve it So when they just perform that or complete the task in front of teachers and the students, they will become very, very confident and willing to speak. Okay, so this is about summative assessment. And for formative, ChatGPT has the memory function. So it means it is able to record all of the conversation, the chat with those students. So based on that, ChatGPT can help them identify their weaknesses and stress. So this will also help students to improve their speaking proficiency. Well, this is my answer. Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vidhi, we can ask the next.
Yes, sir. Before we move on to the next presenter, I would like to introduce the second member of our session chair.
You can proceed, Moish.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We now invite our second presenter, Pepa Petrova, to present a paper titled Curiosity Function and Adaptive Logic Algorithms for Enhanced Dataset Structuring in ML-Based Classification of ERP Influencing Technologies.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the presentation. And okay, now you can see my screen. Let me put it in
Yes, your screen is visible.
presentation mode.
No, your screen is visible.
Now you can see it well, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with such scientific fellows like you. I'm going to present you our work, my team and me, on the topic curiosity function and adaptive logic algorithms for enhanced dataset structuring in machine learning based classification of ERP influencing technologies. Now I'm going to explain what is it about. ERP systems are really critical and very important for almost every business. And they're also very complex, and that's why ERP vendors in their aim to update to make them more fancy or effective or efficient, they would like to implement new technologies like IoT, cloud computing, mobile devices, so on and so forth. But all these changes in such kind of systems are very difficult. They are time consuming, as well as a big investment is necessary. That's why our aim is to give them approach how they can analyze unstructured data to understand actually how the new technologies will influence the future of ERP system, so that they can make informed decisions on where to invest. And our hypothesis in this research is if the prompt to generative AI continue speaking with about ChatGPT, we also use this tool, let's say. So if the prompt to generative AI is enhanced with logic, the text interpreter can correctly classify new technologies that will impact the development of ERP systems. Okay. The main methods that we have used, so this is a comparison between manual and automatic analysis of unstructured data. And we use the combination of them, logical approach, including puzzle method constraints and curiosity function, as well as few-shot classification to train on the go generative AI so that it can make a classification of this unstructured data set. So the logical approach has two stages. The first one is the preparation stage. It is mainly about data gathering. So we have selected 35 scientific articles published in the period 2020-2025 and written in English and German, as well as we conducted surveys and interviews with specific groups of experts. So manual classification is performed by a certain expert. And then we also used static classification for qualitative analysis and labeling or identifying technologies as keywords using Python script and statistical approach. The algorithm includes puzzle constraints and curiosity function. Puzzle constraints, we use it like slicing this data set on different directions and having different point of view of the data. Oh, it's very interesting. So you can see different dependencies between data or connections or where different data cross together or things like that. So we need these different slices of data to fulfill our curiosity function because it works. It makes a decision on the go. So there is kind of algorithm once again, but during the run of this algorithm, actually it makes own decision which puzzle method constraint to apply next. And this is how to actually make the most appropriate subset of text examples that we need to use for a few-shot classification to train the generative AI. The other part of the data collection, as I mentioned, these were the surveys and the interviews with specific participants. So the number is not big because the aim of the survey was not to collect as much data as possible, but the opposite, we wanted to focus and to have a good representation of small, medium, and big sizes companies, ERP vendors, academia, industry sector. So specific categories of people we wanted to have their opinion. As a result, we receive a really big unstructured data set. And this is how actually we proceed with analyzing this data set. The first step is data collection. So we over it, we perform puzzle constraints. The first constraint that we implemented actually gave us 10 different labels from 4 type of sources with 54 text examples. The next one gave us 2 categories with 30 text examples, and the third one focuses on 8 categories with 54 text examples for training dataset. Then we applied the algorithm for step 1 data transformation, then applying different puzzle constraints and specifically crossword constraint. And based on the curiosity function, we actually received this training data set for few-shot classification. with 3 up to 5 specific examples for the few shot classification for training the generative AI. Okay. The results of this approach is that we can have a really clean and well-structured training data set from unstructured data. So based on the crossword constraint, we really received a concise number of training examples, 112, that are more appropriate, and the curiosity function gave us 10 most frequently mentioned technologies, so that we can fulfill all these examples for the few shot classification. So how it works, we have examples for each category, from 3 to 5 examples following a specific requirements. So this is like a training data set, and together with it, we give the actually data set that we want to be classified to the Gen AI. And this is how we automate actually the classification process from manual to semi-automated, let's say, because still the human has its role, and very important one. So this is really short visualization of the entire process. We start with this unstructured data. Then we put it in order using the dynamic curiosity-based algorithm to receive the high quality labeled training dataset, and as a result to use it for a classification scheme. So this approach, as I said at the beginning, it is applicable for new scientific papers, for new interviews and surveys, based on how the future changes. So following this approach, we can do this many times and with less time consuming. I mean, it is just minimizing the time that we need to invest to analyze this unstructured text and classify it, actually. Okay, as a conclusion, this is what I said, actually. The idea is to give an approach, a framework, a tool for the ERP vendors, how they can assess the influence or the impact of newly created or developing technologies, and how they are going to impact the ERP systems in the future, based on the opinion of people who are involved, people who are working with this system, who are developing them, who are consuming their features and working on daily basis, or people who are teaching about this ERP systems and conduct some kind of scientific research. Okay, this research is live. I mean, it was possible thanks to a project funded by the Ministry of Education and Science in Bulgaria, and that's what was my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm ready for questions if you have.
I request the session chair to ask questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pepa. It's a very presentful or meaningful presentation. Congratulations for this.
Thank you.
So my question is that can you please explain how the courtesy function dynamically influence the dataset structuring during the training, and how it's different from the traditional feature selection method? So I just want to curious about courtesy function.
Yeah. The curiosity function actually it comes from its name. That's why it is curiosity, because during its run. So imagine if you have a kind of algorithm and you have a different option, like different paths. So the curiosity function during this run, it makes a decision based on the current result. So imagine that you have kind of assessment like a number. It's not exactly the number in our case, or not every time, but imagine it is a number and you can get a number between 1 and 6, for instance. And if you have, for the current text example, you have a number 1, the curiosity function makes a decision, okay, based on this, I am going to apply this specific puzzle constraint. So I'm going to narrow down, or I'm going to widen it up, or I'm going to cross with another information, so that I can understand is this example is good enough to be selected for the training set. If it's 3, the number, if it's 3, then the curiosity function, it is like, okay, what will happen if I select another puzzle constraint, so I can combine or compare this text example with another one, and to put it in a training set, or to say, okay, it is not clear enough, it is not good enough. So this is the approach. It is, as I said, is a logical approach. So it is not like a conventional way how we usually have algorithms. So it is step by step. It is still an algorithm, but it has its own decision. So we give this algorithm ability to make choice. So this is how it works, and we have implemented this curiosity function in assessing students or learners, and their level of knowledge, and based on their answer at the moment, we can return them on a lower level of knowledge. If they are not good enough, we can continue with the level they are currently in, or if they are good enough with like few questions, they can move one level up. So we tested this, and we used this curiosity function in another situation as well. So yeah, this is how it works, and it is very interesting, and we continue working on that and looking for different applications, how to develop and use this curiosity function. It's very interesting. Thank you so much for the question.
All the best. Thank you. Yes, Vidhi,
Thank you.
we can invite the next one.
Yes, no
Yes, sir.
doubts. Next, no doubts. You can continue next one.
We now invite Denis Vasiloyev for presenting his paper titled Linking the Skills with AI: How Local Processes Determine Success of Large-Scale Nature-Based Solutions.
Good morning. Yes, I will share my screen. Okay, so yes, in this research, we collaborated with two professors from Gothenburg University, and actually, this is a conceptual study. So we were looking at the opportunity to apply AI to integrate the scales in nature-based solutions projects. So what is the problem that we are trying to address? Basically, when you are implementing nature-based solutions, there are forces that affect it at multiple scales. So from local to actually regional scales. And these forces are hard to account for because there are multiple drivers of change, including, for example, social, environmental factors, also economic factors, and all of them interact at different scales. For example, local community, how it perceives the project can affect the outcome of the project at a larger scale, and interaction between the communities can have another outcome also if we are talking about interaction between different types of stakeholders, their interests, and if we put it into the context of climate change and other processes happening in ecosystems, all this makes it in fact very difficult to analyze. And as a result, some nature-based solutions projects just fail because they can't account for these different drivers and address them properly. So, as I mentioned, it is quite complex. It affects the project at multiple scales. It involves different factors at each of the scales. So we were thinking about how is it possible to address this issue, and we turned to the idea that it is possible to use here large language models, reinforcement learning, and multi-agent reinforcement learning. So the problem, of course, is that conservation specialists are not aware of these tools, and if they are even aware of these tools, they don't have enough skills to use them in many cases. So it is also not very clear what could be the application. So here we proposed a model that will allow to apply this for nature-based solutions projects. So yes, as I mentioned, conservation specialists often don't realize the opportunities. Often it is the perception of opportunities provided by AI are limited to the idea of using ChatGPT or some other chatbots. But going deeper, using multi-agent systems and so on, it is rarely considered. So here we think about the potential of usage of large language models. So one of the very interesting applications that could definitely help here would be simulating stakeholder interactions, and especially simulating stakeholder actually communications, because it is very often a big problem to assemble all necessary stakeholders together and to discuss all essential questions, because again, you need to invite stakeholders from different levels and different layers of the society. So this can be logistically complex, it can be expensive, and it can be in general problematic. Especially because actually nature-based solutions projects often take part in developing countries where communications infrastructure may be actually not very easy to harness and so on. So here we were thinking about application of multi-AI agent systems for simulating actually stakeholder interactions, and especially workshops regarding nature-based solutions, so that we could assemble the full spectrum of actually the stakeholder representative agents and get some feedback. Of course, it would not replace real communications, but with some expert elicitation and other validation methods, we could actually get more or less realistic results. We are already experimenting with this. The other tool that we think could be quite useful here is application of reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning allows us to design, again, multi-agent systems that can simulate changes in the landscape. and how these changes are affecting animals and plants as well as humans. So it is possible to design such systems using tools like NetLogo, for example, or some other actually multi-stakeholder, reinforcement learning, multi-agent tools. So here we think that this could be quite helpful, especially in understanding how the forces would affect potentially the movements of species inside the landscape, because they determine ecological processes. And also it is possible to simulate interactions between different stakeholders with different interests with wildlife. So this is another interesting opportunity, and basically I mentioned NetLogo, but NetLogo actually in general is the tool that is just actually multi-agent simulator, but we were thinking about integration of reinforcement learning here using actually Python libraries such as Petting Zoo. In that case, we could get more realistic outcomes. So to make this all work, we, as a team of scientists, propose functional phases. So what are these? Because, as I mentioned, the processes are acting at the multiple scales, we need to have some reference. And we were thinking about the landscape scale, which would be the GIS grain would be 10 meters. Then we were thinking about community functional phases. This would be about 100 meters range. And then we were thinking about regional scale. So this will be already kilometers scale. And yes, so here we were thinking about functional characteristics of each of these labels, typical interpretations and main objectives of modeling at each of the scales. But as you probably can imagine, integrating all these data together may be quite a difficult task. So we can take one scale, do some simulations, both using multi-AI agent systems to simulate social processes, and at the same time we could use also the reinforcement learning and multi-agent reinforcement learning models to simulate actually interactions with the wildlife and ecological processes. But this could be done at local or maybe landscape scales, but integrating this in this like accumulating feedback loops into regional scale might be difficult. And again, understanding how regional scale processes such as economic processes, climate change and others affect the processes at smaller scale is problematic. So how do we think that this could be approached? So we think that we could use integrated simulations. So we would start with local scale. Of course, these are site-specific issues that we were trying to model here. And here we would use, of course, reinforcement learning mostly, and AI multi-agent systems also integrated with reinforcement learning models. So today it is possible using, again, tools like Petting Zoo, and, for example, integrating it with Crew AI or similar tools. For example, Autogen is very good for that purpose. Then we were thinking about landscape scale processes. So here we need to actually simulate landscape pattern change responses, especially from the wildlife, but also from the society and social interactions within the landscape. So here we would apply AI multi-agent systems. And finally, at the regional scale, we would simulate large-scale ecological processes, social ecological processes using AI multi-agent systems. and do scenario planning again with the help of multi-agent reinforcement learning. So all these data could be then integrated with the help of AI. And yeah, so what would be the way forward? We believe that today there are many low-code and even no-code tools that can be applied by conservation specialists. At least some of them are very easy to use, such as I mentioned, QAI, also AutoGen, also the tools like Petting Zoo. Relatively, they're relatively low code and relatively easy to apply. Also, there are now even some no code tools emerging that could be helpful here, such as at least for AI simulations, we could use here NA10 and other similar frameworks. So that was, in general, my message. So I believe that it is time to integrate AI and reinforcement learning tools into conservation practices so that we have less failed projects, because the nature-based solutions projects tend to be relatively expensive, and actually we want them to deliver the benefits that they are designed to deliver. But to make sure that they actually deliver these benefits, we need to address the problems at multiple scales, and to do this we can actually apply AI and reinforcement learning together with actually together at a multiple range of at the range of scales, integrating those tools and approaches. So that was my message. Thank you, and I think I finished. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. Such a great presentation. My only question is that how does your AI framework balance local ecological data with the global scalability without losing the contextual accuracy?
Oh, yes, actually, we were already experimenting with this. We use RAG systems to embed our multi-agent systems into context, because generally they tend to be, of course, over generalized, and they tend to this way deliver not very realistic processes. But for now, we are integrating them into the context using feeding the data into RAG system. One problem that we are now facing is actually interpretation of actually GIS or maps by large language models. But yeah, we are currently working on that, because you can, of course, feed them in the form of text, but you need to get the model to interpret them correctly, which is not a trivial task. And one more thing that we are also experimenting with right now is, of course, human in the loop. So when you intervene into this multi-agent conversations and simulations as a human, it helps to make it more realistic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will now introduce our next presenter.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, we now invite Robert A. Bustamante for presenting his paper titled Plant Redesign of a Sausage Processing Facility Using SLP Analysis and Process Simulation, a case study.
Good morning. Can you see my screen?
Yes, your screen is visible.
Yeah. Well, good morning. My name is Robert Bustamante. I'm from Technical University of Cotopaxi in Ecuador. I will present our research from the design of a search processing fact using SLP analysis and process simulation. Well, the problem is staying. This moment, the company current operates with a layout that was not originally designed using formal and industrial planning principles. Instead, the distribution of workstation above progressive at the business group with the support structure layout methodologies or analytical tools. Well, this situation is common in emerging or small enterprise, where operational decisions are often based on immediate needs rather than long-term optimization strategies. Yeah, as production demand increases, space constraints begin to generate operational inefficiencies. As a consequence, the current layer result in inefficient material flows, excessive operator movement, and unnecessary transportation activities that to do add value to the process. And since the plant only has 40 square meters layout, optimization becomes critical. In small production environments, every square meter directly impacts for in the workflow community, continuity, safety, and operational performance. This inefficiency directly affects productivity and profitability by increasing processing time, reducing labor utilization, and limiting the overall production capacity of the system. The objective of our research, the objective of the study was to redesign the plan the layout using the systematic layout planning methodology. Additionally, we validate the proposed redesign through dynamic simulation in Flexin. The ultimate goal was to improve productivity and operational efficiency without investing in new machinery, right? The methodology, systematic layout planning (SLP). In order to redesign the plan layout, we applied the systematic layout planning methodology developed by Richard Moder. SLP allows you to analyze the closeness relationship between activities using approximity codes. These codes are the code A, absolute necessary, represents activities that must be located close to each other, mainly due to material flow continuity. The codec The codec X and XX indicate unnecessary proximity, often due cross-contamination risks or workflow interference. Yep. And the codec U represents areas that do not require spatial proximity. In our case study, because the production process follows a serial structure, most relationships were classified as A, X, 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 and U. Uh, well, this confirms that the strict sequential organization is required for phases. How to they show in the image. Well, in this slide, can you see the current production layout? Yeah. Aquí, here, this slide represents the simulation model representing the current operation condition of the plant. The model includes processing times, workstations, capacities, and operator movement paths within the production area. As we can observe, the current production level is approximately 17 cents batches per hour. The operator one shows a low utilization rate of around 32%, mainly due to long travel distance across the facility which indicates that a significant portion of time is spent walking instead of performing value-added activities. The total travel distance in 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 an hour of job is 11,700 meters, which clearly indicates a dispersed and inefficient workload. This value is extremely high for a plant for only 14 square meters. These results confirm that the recurrent layout degenerates unnecessary movement and directly impacts overall system productivity. Proposed layout. Based on SLP analysis, we developed a new layout that reorganizes the production stage into a more logical and linear sequence. Yep. In the screen, you can see the proposed layout is a flow production in the plan. The process now begins with waiting, followed with reading, mixing, stuffing, tying, cutting, packing, and finally storage. This sequence reduces back and forth movement and improves coordination between stations. The distance between critical workstations was significantly reduced, minimizing unnecessary operator movement. The new layout creates a more compact and continuous production flow. This redesign directly addresses the inefficiencies identified in the original configuration. Well, in this slide, can you see the two moments, current layout versus proposed layout simulation? To better understand the operational impact of the redesign. In the left, can you see in this video, we can observe the current operating condition of the plant. Notice how the operator frequently moves across the production area. The two operators crossing all the area. Although the plant is only 14 square meters, the workstation distribution forces long travel distance. Here we can see interruption in workflow method. Okay, this back and forth movement generates no value added activities. The total travel distance exceeds 11,700 meters per simulation period, which is considerably high for a plant for size. Okay, on the right, on the right video, now we will observe the proposed layout configuration. Immediately, we can see more linear and compact flow. The production sequence follows a logical order from weaving to final storage. Okay. Operator movement has been significantly reduced. Operator 1 is going to mixer. Operator 2 go to the storage. It's more easy. This results in improved workflow continuity and better spatial organization. Travel distance were reduced substantially. As a result, operation utilization increases and overall system productivity improves. This comparison visually demonstrates the impact of structural layout planning. Now, that we have analyzed the proposed structural redesign, the use value is quantitative impact road simulation. After implementing the proposed layout in the simulation model, production increased to 19.4 batches per hour. This represents an improvement of approximately 22% compared to the original configuration. More importantly, is this increase was achieved without modifying processing times or adding new equipment or machines. The only variable chance was the physical distribution on the plant. This demonstrates that Lagos struggle alone has measured impact on operational performance. The increase was mainly due to reduction of unnecessary operator movement and the creation of a more linear workflow. Operator travel distance was reduced by more than 50% from over 11,700 meters to approximately 4,800 meters. This reduction not only improves efficiency but also reduces operator fatigue and potential human error. In small facilities, excessive movement direct affect productivity to idle time and text interruptions. Yes, it's important to emphasize that improvement was achieved without investing in a new machinery. The increase in productivity was obtained purely through layout optimization. Well, beyond operational efficiency, it is essential to analyze the economic feasibility of the proposed redesign. The proposed redesign required an estimated investment $1,600. Based on the simulation results, the system reaches its break-even point at approximate month 31. From a manager perspective, this is highly relevant for a small and medium-sized enterprise. Many companies invest heavily in machinery while ignoring spatial optimization. Yeah, or results suggest that larger redesign can be low risk, high impact strategy for improving competitiveness. After that point, the company begins generating a positive money margin due to increased productivity. And well, this study demonstrated that combining SLP methodology with process simulation provides a practical and low-cost strategy for improving operational efficiency. The results confirm that layout optimization and alone can significantly increase productivity and profitability, especially in small manufacturing facilities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. There is no question from my side. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
That's good.
We think we can ask next one.
Yes, sir. We would now like to invite Humilela Jolie to present paper title Towards Integrated Cloud Governance, Comparative Analysis of Data, Digital and Cloud Sovereignty.
Thank you, Chair. I will share my screen shortly. Just a second, just sort this out. Not sure which one it's sharing. Here we go. Please let me know once you can see my screen.
We can see yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll be presenting our work, which is titled Towards an Integrated Cloud Governance. This is a comparative analysis of data, digital, and cloud sovereignty. The study aims to examine how sovereignty is currently conceptualized in literature And thereafter, it proposes a structured differentiation between the three terms mentioned: data, digital, and cloud sovereignty. And then it moves on from just being a foundation to a technical operationalization. Firstly, we'll just define the term sovereignty. Sovereignty means that data is subject to the country where it's designed, where it's stored, and it needs to obey according to the laws and policies that govern the data within that country. So as cloud adoption accelerated, organizations increasingly operated in distributed, multi-cloud, and cross-border infrastructures. This created regulatory fragmentation, jurisdictional ambiguity, enforcement complexity. So governments, I just need to move this. So governments are responding with a stronger data localization, digital independence measures. However, sovereignty is still frequently discussed conceptually and interchangeably. This therefore then brings us to the core issue of this research and what we're trying to achieve, which is understanding how sovereignty is used interchangeably and how it differs from one to the other. And as much as it is debated, how it's debated extensively, but it is really operationalized. Move on to the next slide. So there are the three dimensions that are mentioned previously in this study. It is data sovereignty, digital sovereignty, and cloud sovereignty, which we're trying to differentiate and understand how they use interchangeably. So firstly, we'll just define shortly what data sovereignty is, which it concerns legal jurisdictions over stored and processed data. Then digital sovereignty then extends data sovereignty to the country's control over digital infrastructure and platforms. Then comes the emerged cloud sovereignty. This term refers to the technical and conceptual contractual control within the cloud environments. Although these three terms are related, these dimensions differ in scope, in enforcement capabilities, and maturity. So understanding these distinctions is the gap that this research is trying to fill, because it is very critical for governance clarity. Moving on to the next slide. So to achieve this research and to bring it to a practical one, we had to list three objectives. The three objectives are: the first one is that we want to examine cross-border enforcement challenges when it comes to cloud computing within the country of South Africa for now. And then secondly, we want to identify regulatory tools and technical controls that support sovereignty. Thirdly, we want to clearly differentiate the three terms that have been mentioned consistently, which is data, digital, and cloud sovereignty, to avoid conceptual ambiguity. This structured differentiation enables precise governance and discussions. So the methodology that was used to achieve this, we used to ensure the methodological rigor. We conducted the PRISMA guided systematic literature review, where we initially identified about 66 records of data. After removing the duplicates and all the other irrelevant studies, we were left with 25 were eligible. And ultimately, 19 of these paper sources were used for the structured analysis. This process ensured transparency, and we used it for reproducibility and to also just provide the analytical depth of this study. Moving along from the literature that we gathered together, the analysis that were conducted, we then were able to create a framework or present like a conceptual framework. Here we presented the core analytical contribution of the study from the literature, where we were able to say that data sovereignty is just jurisdictional. The focus for jurisdictional is a jurisdictional focus. It relies on localization laws and privacy regulations. Its primary risk is that it is non-compliance. And then we looked at digital sovereignty. Digital sovereignty expands the governance scope. It emphasizes the strategic autonomy the national digital control, and the primary risk being loss of institutional and national control. This is where we start involving like the digital tools that are used, especially within the public spaces, within the governance space, where they have physical servers that are being stored. With technology emerging, we now come to cloud sovereignty. The focus on this study, what we picked up from literature, is that it's cloud sovereignty operationalizes sovereignty technically. It operationalizes data sovereignty, which we did mention that it is it relies on localization laws. It speaks to the data that is stored in a physical manner within the country. The cloud sovereignty, which then operationalizes that in a technical manner. It depends, cloud sovereignty then also depends on governance frameworks, technical controls. But the risk that we identified when it comes to cloud sovereignty, when looking at the different terms and operationalizing, is that there's a risk of vendor lock-in. Vendor lock-in where maybe we could have cloud service providers, which they have come with their own policies and own rules, as much as we are aware of shared services policy, shared responsibility, more models that are implied, but there is jurisdictional conflict when it comes to that, especially in a country where we don't have regions that ensure sovereignty within the country. In summary, from what I've just said, we then can say that data sovereignty defines the legal authority. Digital sovereignty defines the strategic autonomy of the data, of how data is being stored, and cloud sovereignty defines the technical enforceability. It brings up more ideas on how we can enforce these tools to make sure, because now data is, when it comes to cloud, the actual physical servers are not sitting in the country. However, we have a region that is sitting in the country, but where is it really being controlled? That's where the enforceability needs to be more enforced, and the technical enforceability needs to be done. Moving along. So to back up the terms that were defined previously and the differences between the three layers of sovereignty, we put together all the differences that were picked up from literature, the conceptual definitions, clarity, the primary governance focuses, the risk coverage and effectiveness of each sovereignty, and the cloud environment applicability of each dimension of sovereignty, the mitigation mechanisms that are available, the overlapping and integration potential, implementation maturity within South Africa specifically, and the automation and enforcement potentials. Suitability for regulated sectors, such as the private sectors in the country. The heat map further then clarified the maturity and enforcement capabilities. Data sovereignty demonstrated from this heat map, as we can see. Data sovereignty demonstrated a strong conceptual clarity, but implementation complexity. Digital sovereignty showed that it is, in a way, very much evolving in the governance scope. Cloud sovereignty, on the other hand, is emerging rapidly. That's what we picked up from this as a technical enforcement layer. So the key takeaway from this heat map, which was developed by the authors of this research through literature and data collection, is that data and digital sovereignty together they define the intention of what it means to secure data, especially in a world that is now digital. While cloud sovereignty now enables the enforcement of these intentions, of these regulatories and these policies that govern data that is as it traverses through the internet. One would ask, why does this matter for a country? But for now, we'll just focus on South Africa. For South Africa, these distinctions are particularly very important because cloud adoption in South Africa is increasing. Multi-region architectures complicate the jurisdiction. We have various cloud service providers which come with various ways in which you can use them with various regions. This then just complicates the whole process of ensuring that data is jurisdictic. Data localization pressure now grows. We have policies that have been developed. We learn about the GDPR policies, which speak strongly about data localization. Now, data localization, the pressure grows. How do we then localize data in an era that is very digital? Regulatory enforcement has to evolve. That's what we picked up. It has to evolve with the legal interpretation and even beyond static legal interpretation. Cloud governance must balance compliance, sovereignty, and innovation, which is very tough because with innovation, technology is emerging very fast, but the governance policies seem to somehow lack. But with researchers like this, we are actually aiding in identifying where the gaps are by the understanding of the technical needs that are required and what the laws do. But without then the structured differentiation between these dimensions, enforcement is quite inconsistent. So, in conclusion, data sovereignty refers to legal control of the data. Digital sovereignty concerns governance and digital systems. Cloud sovereignty operationalizes these principles technically within the cloud environments. These layers, one would ask, what is the contribution of the study? What can we say about these layers beyond just giving definitions? We then conclude that these dimensions, data sovereignty, digital sovereignty, and cloud sovereignties, are actually layered. They are interconnected, and even though we say data sovereignty speaks to the legal control of data, which is stored physically, but they are also forever evolving. So understanding this layered relationship, which was mentioned through the heat map and through the framework that was given in this research, is very critical for sustainable cloud governance. Then this brings us to the future works of the study. Because this is just only a conceptual analysis, the future works of the study aim to move beyond the conceptual analysis. We propose to now start developing a policy to code governance tools that will automate sovereignty enforcement. This includes the designing of structured compliance frameworks, which are capable of detecting sovereignty risks within a cloud architecture. For example, the policy to code is that will allow the users of cloud, the people that store data, companies, public sectors, and other sectors to actually bring an architecture. So the policy to code will take that architecture, put it in, it goes through the checks of all the policies that govern data. And then there's a code that runs in the background that checks your architecture if it is really compliant and lets you know that this is compliant or not. However, but the long-term goal is to move this theoretical sovereignty to an operational enforcement. As argued in the study, we are in an era of distributed cloud infrastructures. Sovereignty is no longer only about where the data is residing, but how governance intent is technically enforced. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation and tell us about the cloud governance and all. My only question from you that how can organization particularly implement integrated cloud governance without compromising innovation, speed, and flexibility? How we are going to address this question?
How can
an organization particularly implement integrated cloud governance without compromising innovation and its flexibility?
I believe it is achievable, especially if you're speaking in the year of 2026. As much as we are aware of the shared responsibility model, which is offered by various cloud service providers. So when they want to use the cloud and actually maintain the policies with innovation going up to speed with that, they can make use of the shared responsibility model. And in today's world, we find out about the sovereign clouds, which are offered by the cloud service providers. We find out about the landing zone accelerators. I read about it recently. It is offered by the Amazon Web Computing Services. That landing zone accelerator allows you to build within an environment that does not compromise the policies and laws of your country. By using that, you can incorporate your GDPR, your POPIA Act, and then make sure, and then it checks, because there's a security hub that can actually check for you. And that's where the shared responsibility model comes into place, because you also have a responsibility to actually check where are you compromising your country's data. But it is possible when you understand the laws that are there and also using it in a right manner and making use of the tools that are offered by the cloud services providers. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You can continue. It's good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr. Sunil. I think it's our turn now.
I would like to invite Kentmanto Wangsa to present his paper titled The Interplay, Limitations and Future Direction of Quantum Computing and Generative AI LLM, a systematic review.
Yes, so can everyone see the screen then?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so my name is Ketmanto Wangsa. I just would like to thank the ICICT 2026 committee and Dr. Sunil and VD for organizing this, and also to my fellow researcher here in this room. Yeah, as I said, that my name is Ketmanto Wangsa. We are a team of four. We are based in Sydney, Australia. Dr. Karim is in the room, Dr. Sandu and Dr. Singh. So today we'll be talking about the interplay and limitation of generative AI slash LLM, and then with the quantum computing. So of course, obviously, the first question is why these two technology matter. So AI and quantum have been discussed for so many years, but due to the recent development and advancement of technologies, these two are moving so fast. So that's why we classify them as emerging technologies. So the generative AI that we have been using these days are based on the NLP. NLP is the natural language processing. So back in the days, this is how the computer understands and reads the text, and then it evolved to be it became the large language model. Eventually, after reading so many texts, after reading so many massive data sets, it became like a researcher that can memorize all the answer, all the knowledge, and that can also answer your queries. And to improve the factual reliability of the answers, because we know very sure, right? I mean, like it's not that the answer is always correct. The researcher and developers have already implemented uh, RAG. It's a retrieval augmentative uh, generation. So with the help of RAG, the generative AI can also give you the sources. So instead of memorizing the answer itself of the data of the massive data set that they have already read, they also use the RAG, so they can also point to the sources that they use to explain the answers. So, but again, these three are not really perfect. There are so many flaws that are currently happening. As you can see, that some models are very slow in generating the outputs. Some models are not very good with accuracies. Some model also are facing a difficulty at scaling, and of course, the research usage persists. At the same time, quantum computing can be the solution for this, because quantum computing is different than the classical computer. Classical computer operate on the bits, 0 or 1, yes or no, true or false. But with the quantum computing, it can work on all possible or on all possibilities. So it can work on the 0, 1, or both 0 and 1. That means this time alone, so from this time, the computation can be faster. it can be faster, more accurate, and of course, if these two have already been achieved, then we also try to make it more efficient and more effective. So that's why in this research, we'll be talking about the interplay and limitation of the quantum computing and the generative AI slash LLM. So the research questions are always are the same like what I said. So it's what the quantum computing can do to improve the generative AI slash LLM, or how the generative AI slash LLM can improve the quantum computing as well. And the second question is, of course, the limitation and the drawbacks of the two of them. And the third one is, of course, the future direction, which direction that we should be taking from now, where to go from here. So the methodology of this research follows very close with the Prisma model. So we included the conference papers and the peer review papers that are published in journals from 2023 to 2025. Uh, the main scope here, as I said, is always based on the interplay and limitations of quantum and Gen AI. We found there are 85 papers in IEEE, 467 in Springer Nature Link, and 18 paper in Science Direct. So regarding the interplay of the quantum computing and generative AI slash LLM, so we divided into two sections. So the first one is what the quantum computing can do on Gen AI slash LLM. So with the high computation that quantum computing can offer, it can also help to detect more threats, because with the high computation, it can also use the pattern matching technique that can also recognize which threats that needs to be neutralized, and also to improve the intrusion detection system. So one study shows that with this method, it can also achieve an accuracy of 99.9%, a precision of almost 99%, a recall of almost 98%, and a computation time of just 13 seconds, and an error rate that is lower than 10% when compared to the other models. And also, with the help of quantum computing, Gen AI is also able to predict and model emotions, because we know that human knowledge and human emotion is very complicated. When we see people crying, we do not know whether they cry happily or whether they cry because they are sad. But with this quantum computing, we can also predict and also forecast all possibilities, all the answers that we think can be the solution. So with this help, Gen AI can also interpret meanings across many languages. That's in the technology sector, and then for the medical one, it can also build an accurate predictive and fast model. And the second one is because in the medical sector, the PII, the personal identifier information, is very important. That's why with the quantum safe encryption, it can also safeguard sensitive information, and also and also it can also be integrated with blockchain to enable the verification and authentication mechanism to protect the data. And what can generative AI or LLM can do on the quantum computing? As you guys can see that Gen AI can also do many things, especially for self-paced learning. With ChatGPT, with Grok, with so many models out there, you can also use it as a co-pilot. You can also learn quantum computing. You can also automate the tasks. And most recently, one study shows that they can also automate the quantum laboratory experiments using the generative AI, which is very cool because not many people are very interested in quantum field, right? So with this Gen AI, it can also help the students to learn about quantum computing. And the second one is the limitation of the two. As you guys can see that the limitation of these two are always about the money part, because to innovate the emerging technologies, it's very expensive. It's very expensive, and especially for quantum, because it is also under rapid active development by so many players, it can also be exploited by bad actors. And bad actors can also use it to leverage an attack on other infrastructure in the world. And regarding the Gen AI, obviously large data sets are required. I'm not too sure if any of you heard the news, but a few days ago, I think Anthropic got is under investigation by the US government, right? Because apparently they have been stealing so many data because they require so many large data sets in the world. Just like Meta Facebook, because they also use so many pirate websites to train their models. So that's also the reason why it requires so much large data sets. Sometimes big companies, big corporates, they play with the rules, sometimes they don't. And of course, at the moment, no model is perfect. I think no one is. So definitely there will be still bias in generating the outputs. And also according to one study, of course, by using Gen AI, especially the platform, the interface also comes in because some people don't like these features, some people do like those features. So need a user-friendly interface that supports the user. At the moment, one study states that ChatGPT is suitable on helping the students to learn quantum, and of course, it also needs more support on from the collectivity. And the future direction that we can also find and also suggest is, of course, that there'll be a breakthrough in the coming years because, as you guys can see, that last year Google has already developed the Google Willow Quantum. That's a very major breakthrough in the 20th century because this time alone, this supercomputer, this computer can solve the problems 13,000 times more than the classical supercomputers. And if this can solve problem so fast, then this can also aid so many things. For example, in drug discovery, when the doctor has to send the materials to detect the disease, and also can also help to innovate the battery components, polymers, and material used to construct quantum bits. And in the AI field, because more and more companies are moving away from just generative AI, they now integrate the agentic AI, which means that instead of using ChatGPT just to search for the answers, this time the companies and even some developer they can also use agentic AI to automate small tasks. So, for example, if the ad- this time the admin can use agentic AI to do so many tasks. Maybe it's a finance task, maybe it's a administrative task, maybe it's the HR task, and that way alone it can save lots of money. And obviously, by the 2030, the agentic AI is predicted to hit 200 billion dollars in the next 5 years, in the next 3 until 5 years. And the conclusion of our study is the interplay of quantum on generative AI and generative AI on quantum is, of course, uh, it helps in improving the detection rate. Of course, with a high accuracy rate, predicts models faster, and also helps and shape the education to learn for young people to learn quantum. The limitation is, of course, a high investment. They are all still under development and they require expertise because emerging technologies tend to be exploited. And of course, for AI, they may produce an outcrop bias, but that's the reason why they also need to be improved. And the recommendation is we also need to learn agentic AI and also see the breakthrough of quantum computing in many fields. And the limitation and recommendation of this study is, of course, we acknowledge that our study does not contain many use cases that quantum and AI uh, can overlap. So, and I think we can also recommend the future researchers to explore other opportunities that both quantum and generative AI can transform. some examples that we have done in the past years. We have already published papers in nanotechnology, blockchains, cryptocurrency, and cybersecurity. I think those fields can be explored to see the interplay of those technologies, and also in agriculture as well. And probably one last thing from our team is AI is actually AI and quantum are very uh, good because just like in the past, like 26 years ago, internet did not really exist, but now everyone is using internet, right? So that way, because of AI, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we also think that AI will also transform everything. So it's better to learn AI and also better to learn about quantum as well. So later on, if you find a job in IT fields or in any other fields, AI will not replace you. It's not because AI will replace someone. It's not about AI can replace someone's job. It's about someone else with AI skills and quantum literacy that will replace your job. So it's not the AI thing, it's the someone who can use those technologies. I think I experienced this firsthand because I work in IT as well, IT and development. So I think that's about it from our team. Thank you so much for listening.
We request the session chair to ask questions.
No question from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you.
I sincerely thank authors for their excellent presentations and contributions in this session, and all our participants for being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. We, on behalf of the whole team, thank you for the support during this 11th version and all the previous 10 versions of the conference. We will be happy to have you in the 11th version in 2027. All the presenters would be getting their digital certificates through email within 2 working days. The publication will be live within 7 to 8 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT 2026. I also thank our session chair for chairing the session. A token of appreciation for the chair on behalf of the team, ICICT 2026 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation and partners. Thank you for your valuable presence. I kindly request you all to switch on the camera for a quick snapshot of the virtual conference.
Vidhi, you have to stop sharing the screen. Then we will all together on the screen. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And one more thing, I would like to request Vidhi. We have one more session chair in this session. Please show the certificate for the same.
Yes, ma'am. These are the
Thank
two
you so much,
certificates
sir.
for, yes, ma'am. These are the two certificates of appreciation awarded to our session chairs.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presence. Thank you so much to all participants.
Thank you.
Thank you.